Hi guys, it's April and I garden down in southeast Nebraska, zone 6A, and this garden tour is just a day early because I'm afraid that tomorrow is just going to be raining all day, so I'm not going to get a chance to do my garden tour. So I am doing it today when it is a little chilly, a little overcast, but not raining. We did get some severe weather this past weekend, and luckily we weren't hit with any of the hail. And the garden seems to be really loving all of the nitrogen that the rain dropped in, and my rain barrels are full. So I am glad we finally got a lot of rain, but it was a little scary there for a little while. I'm just glad the garden's still intact. I'm going to start at the nursery because these tomato plants are looking so good. I'm actually going to be asking a friend of mine if she would like some of these because they are doing so well. I'm still going to keep a few varieties just in case because there's one or two that I want backups of still, but otherwise I think these are ready to go to another home. And then I do have some plants for my mom here. But I did want to show you that the squashes and the pumpkins are starting to come up. And so next week, probably near the end of next week, those will be going into beds and in the ground. And soon this nursery might not have to be here anymore. So those are all the plants waiting for homes. And then I did talk a little bit about the strawberries and chives last time, but I did pick some of these chive blossoms and I'm in the process of making chive salt. I'll let you know how that goes. This is the first time I've ever tried something like that. Sometimes I just see something really interesting on the internet somewhere and I have to give it a try, and I have so many chives this year. I might have to start thinking about digging some of them up next year because this is getting crazy. My idea that I tentatively have up in my brain right now is I'm gonna pull some of these up and put it under the other peach tree because things seem to struggle a little bit more over there, and I don't know if it's the slope of that area or what, but a lot of these chives are probably gonna get moved at some point. The problem is I've got so many strawberries interwoven with all of these chives that it can be a little hard to not accidentally pull up a strawberry at the same time. So I'm gonna have to be careful when I do something like that. But as you can see, the volunteer dill and cilantro are still doing really well, and everything in pots is doing good as well. It looks like the dill I planted might be going to seed now, at least some of it. And I think the caterpillars have moved on because I don't see them anymore. And you can kind of see all the pots are doing well. Some of them are still a little beat up. My hope is that once it dries out a little bit next week, that I can do some trimming. This guy is just gonna embed himself into that flower. I think we should do the garden backwards this time. So in the Roma bed, you can really see things bouncing back right now. So all of the Roma plants are starting to straighten up. They're gonna have a little curve in there because of how I attach them to the trellises with that wind. And of course, I do need to go in there and I do need to trim some stuff off. But since the rain is coming back this weekend, I don't want to touch anything just yet. But I'm very excited to see that everything here is bouncing back. And I did want to show you this extra special surprise. So over here is my pollinator patch. And as you can see, we've got a lot of milkweed coming up. I might have to thin that a little bit. But the Sweet William, this is last year's planting, is looking so good. I am so excited about all of this. I do have some poppies and some chamomile and some hollyhocks interwoven. I'm trying to add more of the other varieties of flowers and not just milkweed. I think the milkweed took over more than I really wanted it to. So I'm fighting that a little bit. But you can also see over here that we are gonna have some hollyhock flowers soon. And I do have something else really exciting. So we knew this grapevine was bouncing back, but you can see, well, I don't know if you can tell, we do have some sprouts coming up on this one. This is the Somerset seedless. And so he's actually made it back. And the second one of them over here is coming from the base. So all of the grapes that had come back after winter are now coming back again. I still need to replace 2 plants, but I've known that for the last year or so that I needed to replace those. And you can see the kiwi are doing really well too. And someday I will have a flower patch over there that is just glorious. But I'll show you a little more of that when we get over there. I just didn't want to skip over the pepper patch because if you remember, a lot of these were looking really rough. But we've got leaves coming back, and I believe they're gonna have some more shoots come out, and these guys are standing straight now. So that's what the readily available nitrogen in rain will do to plants. It is freaking amazing. I am so glad that we got all of that rain. We ended up with probably like 3 inches of rain or something ridiculous like that, and we needed it. But you can see these guys are doing really well. Here, you can see my lovely empty patch right there. I have pulled all of those radishes because they were all ready to harvest. I'm guessing these guys will need to be pulled soon because they look like they're getting to a decent size. And so really, I'm just going to be waiting on a lot of the daikon hybrids on whether or not they're going to actually bulb up or they're just going to go to seed on me. Obviously, that one already has, which is so rude, but it is pretty to look at. And it is pulling in those pollinators, so I've left it. Here we've got the potatoes. The upstate is the taller one in the back, and it looks like it is doing so well right now. But I do have a lot of the Amorosa, and we do have some calendula coming back. I have transplanted all of the calendula. If you remember last time, it was coming up in the walkway. I have either put them in pots or in beds, and they are doing really well, so I'll point those out when we get there. But I want to briefly show these tomato plants. This one's looking a little rough. He's always been a little spindly, this variety, but I do need to do some pruning. It looks like it's snapped itself a couple times. But this herb patch, I have added some sage next to the cumin because I don't think the cumin's gonna last much longer. but it looks like that stevia is bouncing back. So I might still get a decent crop of stevia. I don't know. I've attempted to start some more seeds, but stevia can be so finicky. So I'll keep my eye on that. Now I do know the fountain is getting a little green. That's because of all of the rainwater and how everything has been sitting. And of course the solar fountain isn't going right now because of how overcast it is. But I'll balance that back out. But I did want to show you that even though they're looking a little imperfect, the straw flowers and the zinnias are doing well. It even looks like I've got some zinnia buds that might be opening up soon. So that'll be good. I do have a second round of zinnias sprouting and they're starting to get their true leaves. So those will go right in there. And then I have this little surprise right here. If you remember how I was talking about that pot just dried out so fast. And so the sunflower is probably not going to make it. Well, I think she's going to make it now. She doesn't look the best, but she has perked up and it does look like we're starting to get a flower head. Now I will admit I'm not the best at growing things in pots. I'm either underwatering or overwatering, nothing in between. So when things like this actually start bouncing back and looking good, I get really excited. I'm hoping I can maintain that flower until it blooms. I believe it is a Pro Cut White Knight, think. Not 100% sure. I do have a second round of sunflowers for when these sunflowers start to fall back. I can put some more in. And I'm sure I can find other parts of the garden that I can put those in as well. Here we have these tomatoes, and it looks like I might start having to trellis some of those soon. You can just see where the rain came down so hard it was splattering all of the soil along that fence. This is different this time. So I have planted out the cucumbers. So we are looking directly at the muncher cucumbers. And then on the other side we have the garden burpless. And I'm hoping to, of course, trellis those up. What you can't see is on the other two sides, I planted some runner beans. I'm hoping they'll come up, but we'll have to keep an eye on those. I'm thinking in some of these corners of this bed, I'm gonna plant various different kinds of squashes. Maybe a butternut, a zucchini. I don't know what else. I'm still kind of thinking about how this bed is gonna go. And then of course you can see this secondary root bed over here, and it looks like my traditional daikon is already going to seed, of course. That one's starting to go to seed as well. Bah. But some of these other ones are still looking pretty good, so maybe I might just let the traditional daikon go to seed because it's not hindering anything, but I might pull out that one right there because I don't need that right now. I'm gonna briefly walk you past all of these beautiful, beautiful tomatoes. And yes, there's some trimming that has to be done, but I have planted in marigolds and they are looking gorgeous right now. And then in front of the marigolds, you can see the little weed looking things. Those are the calendula. that I pulled out of the ground. I thought this was a good place to put all of these. And that flavor grenade is such a dark color. It almost blends into the soil. It's going to be an interesting tomato. But that is the big tomato bed. Behind it, you can see all of the bok choy and some of the specialty cabbages. I'm probably going to be pulling the last of the edible bok choy today for dinner. And then in its place, when like a zucchini or a squash is ready, I'll plant it there. But the Spanish mammoth, I am so excited about this, is actually bouncing back. She is standing up straight. We are getting new leaves on both of them, which is good. We have had some pretty cold nights since it has rained. But the peppers are still doing okay. And then this one. I thought this guy was a goner, but as you can see, we have little shoots coming back. And this is exactly why I do not pull peppers when they're still standing straight, because they might surprise you and there might still be a lot of life in there. So I'm keeping my eye on that plant. Otherwise, these guys are looking a little rough, but good. I'm excited for peppers this year. And I believe this is the last bed where we've got some more of our tomatoes and then our thyme, which looks like it's got a lot of new growth on it. I can't wait until it gets nice and bushy. I think this year is my salt year, because I've also been thinking about making some thyme salt when all of this is big enough and ready enough for me to start really harvesting off of it. I think just the concept of thyme salt, especially in eggs and on meat, just sounds good. So I think I'm gonna experiment with a lot of my herbs and salt and see what kind of things I can come up with. I did want to briefly stop at the honeyberry bushes because we have been getting a few honeyberries. Don't see any of them right now. But this might be the first year we get a decent harvest of these guys, because we do have a variety of honeyberries and they are getting so big. I'm guessing a lot of the honeyberries are going to be buried inside the plant right now. But you can see some of the baby fruit. Just keeping my eye on it. And over here really hasn't changed all that much. I've got my cabbage and the one that I'm just letting go to seed. The planter is starting to bounce back. It looked a little rough after I first planted it out, but I think it's looking better now. And then we've got our, oh my gosh, we've got some peas. Oh, that's exciting. I might have to pick a couple of those and snack on them after I'm done here. But the exciting news is the red onions are finally starting to stand up straight. I did do some heavy weeding on this bed, and then we got rain, so I think all of that helped. And I did do another application of fertilizer. on both these onions and on the garlics and leeks. I don't know why the tips of the garlic are going brown like that. And I also don't know why I've struggled so hard with garlic in the last couple of years. But the leeks are looking good. And I kind of skipped over this bed right here. Look at that spinach. I need to harvest a bunch of that and freeze it. I said that last week, and then it just rained for 3-4 days straight, so I didn't get a chance. And honestly, I kind of forgot about it. But I also need to start paying attention to what's going on in this patch right here. This is all pine berries. So they're tiny white strawberries. And those should start appearing soon because they flower relatively early. And you can kind of see some of the fruit. That'll be ready when the seeds turn red. I can take you back there to the cabbage and the peppers. One of the peppers is looking okay. The other one, still a little floppy. And that basil just does not look happy. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Otherwise, we've got this cabbage, which I'm still watching and waiting to head up. And then over here, we have most of my lettuce, which is starting to bolt, and a couple of tomatoes. Otherwise, that is the garden so far. So I think I'm gonna keep 1 to 3 of the tomato plants so I can possibly replace the lettuce with some more dwarf varieties of tomatoes. I think that would be good over there. And then I've got 1 Roma that I have as backup that I want to keep as well, but the rest of them, I think I'm going to start searching for homes for those guys. At this point, the garden is going to be changing fairly rapidly. I'm guessing there's going to be an explosion of growth, so I'm looking forward to that. So if you'd like to see how this garden continues to grow and change over the season, feel free to subscribe down below, hit the bell, do all the things to get all of the notifications. And I do have an Instagram and Threads account. In case you want updates a little earlier than what I do over here on YouTube, you can follow me over there as well. Otherwise, I am going to get inside and warmed up and this video edited. So I hope I will see you guys again in another video, and I heard you beautiful faces.